Hey everyone, it's good to be with you. Thanks for stopping by. I've been practicing family medicine for over a decade now, and I cannot tell you how many times my patients have described the exact same late night scene to me. The whole house is sound asleep. It's around 3 or 4 in the morning, and suddenly click, your eyes just pop wide open. Like someone flipped a switch, your brain crystal clear, you look out the window at the pitch black night, and you're stuck in that awful inner argument. Do I force myself to stay in bed and just toss and turn, flipping over and over like a pancake trying to chase sleep back? Or do I just grit my teeth and get up already? When we were young and healthy, this might not have happened even once a year. But as the years go by, many of my patients find that these long, restless, sleepless nights seem to happen more and more often. And here's what I really want you to hear. Please don't just brush this off as only losing a few hours of sleep or feeling a little tired during the day. From a medical perspective, waking up at this specific time is actually your body sending you an important signal. In fact, research shows that what you do in those brief minutes after you wake up, the way you react, your behavior patterns, not only affects your blood pressure and blood sugar for that entire day, but it's also deeply connected to your long-term mental health and emotional stability. So today, I want to use this time to walk you through this from a professional medical perspective. We're going to really break down, why does our body start alarming so precisely in the middle of the night as we move into midlife and beyond? And more importantly, I need to gently but seriously remind you, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., during this very specific physiological window, there are three things that might seem totally ordinary but are actually incredibly destructive. You really need to avoid them. Once we understand the biology behind this, and once we learn to step around these hidden health landmines, you'll discover that anxious wake-up time doesn't have to be a nightmare, can actually become a golden window of repair and restoration for your body and mind. So please take a breath with me, be patient, and let me walk you through the real story behind all of this. But before we get into the main topic, if you care about your health and your family's health, please go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. That way you won't miss more practical, science-based health information in the future. And if you enjoy what we're sharing today, type the number 1 in the comments. I'd also genuinely love for you to share your own experiences and insights down below. All right, let's start with the core question. Why is 3 a.m. such a hurdle for midlife and senior sleep? In my practice, a lot of patients worry, do I have some serious disease, or is something wrong with my emotions? Of course, physical pain, noise in your environment, depression, or anxiety can all cause early waking. But based on my years of clinical experience and reputable sleep medicine research, for the vast majority of people who are otherwise relatively healthy, the real drivers behind this are two physiological changes that happen naturally as we age. Let's not panic. Let's first try to understand what our body is going through. The first major reason: your sleep building has changed. Your deep sleep has seriously shrunk. To make this easy to understand, let's think of a night of sleep like scuba diving. When you're young, not only do you get into the water fast, but you can also easily dive down into the deep zone down there. It's calm and quiet, outside distractions don't reach you. If you look at a young adult, sleep, e.g. deep sleep, makes up about 20% of their total sleep time. At that depth, nothing wakes you up. Your body is doing precision, high-quality repair work. But once we cross that age 60 threshold, that diving ability starts to go away. The percentage of deep sleep drops off a cliff, sometimes to less than 5%. That means for most of the night, you're just floating on the surface. You're in light sleep. Your sleep shield is very thin. It might be your partner rolling over, a bird chirping outside, or even just a tiny little urge from your bladder. Any of those can pull you completely back to reality. And the hidden driver behind this loss of deep sleep, that brings me to point number 2. Melatonin depletion. In endocrinology, we often call melatonin your body's nighttime commander, or your natural sleep aid. When you're young and healthy, as night falls, your pineal gland secretes melatonin like a fountain. It sends a strong shutdown for the night command to every cell in your body, basically holding you down in bed and pulling you into deep, restful sleep. But as we get older, that pineal gland slowly calcifies. The commander loses their authority. By the time many people reach their 60s or 70s, their melatonin production may be less than half of what it was when they were younger. And that creates an awkward situation. Yes, you might feel sleepy at 9 or 10 p.m. That's the little bit of remaining melatonin working. But because there isn't enough, it can't sustain deep sleep through the whole night. Think of it like this: your gas tank only has enough fuel for half the trip. By 3 or 4 a.m., the tank is dry, and naturally, you wake up. Now, besides the change in sleep depth, there's another even deeper biological mechanism at work. Our internal clock has drifted forward. Every single one of us has a precise timing system inside our body. In medicine, we call it the circadian rhythm. You can't see it or touch it, but it controls whether we are awake or asleep by carefully regulating our core body temperature. Normally, when your core temperature hits its lowest point and then starts rising again, your body receives the signal to start waking up. For a young person, that temperature rise, begin waking signal is usually set for around 7 a.m. But as our tissues age, that biological clock spring tends to get quietly and unknowingly pulled forward. Instead of starting to stoke the body's fire at 7 a.m., it might now start at 4 a.m. or even 3:30 a.m. Once your core temperature rises, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and there's no way you can stay asleep through that. So now that you understand these two things, thinner deep sleep and a shifted internal clock, you should first breathe a sigh of relief. For most people, this is normal physiological aging. It's not some strange incurable disease. But here's where I have to put on my doctor hat and gently warn you. Even though this is a natural phenomenon, if this early waking happens more than 3 times per week and it's seriously affecting how you feel during the day, then we cannot just let it slide. And especially, you really need to examine what you do in that moment when you wake up, because some actions can be like pouring gasoline on a fire. The 3 things I'm about to tell you, these are often the real reason an early waking turns into a night of total insomnia. In fact, many times treating insomnia doesn't require a handful of pills. I once spoke with an experienced sleep therapist, Simone with 3 or 5 years of practice, and they told me just correct one small behavior and sleep quality can turn around like magic. So please listen up now. The first and most common mistake and the most harmful is checking the time the second you wake up. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. When you wake up groggy in the middle of the night and your brain starts to come back online, what's your first instinct? Is it to turn your head and look at the clock on your nightstand or reach under your pillow? Grab your phone and light up the screen to see what time it is. I have to tell you seriously, this seemingly harmless action is an absolute silent killer of sleep. Neurology experts from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine have confirmed that this act of checking the time instantly activates your brain's alert system. It switches you from "I might still be able to sleep" into full awake and in fight mode. Let me tell you a story to help you understand how bad this can be. One of my patients, a retired school teacher, let's call him Mr. Wang, was a very precise, detail-oriented person. His sleep was generally good, but after retirement, he started waking up around 4 a.m. He had a habit. He kept an electronic clock right by his bed. Every time he woke up, he'd see that red number 4:15, and then his math teacher brain would start running the numbers. Oh, it's only 4:15. There are still 2 hours until sunrise. If I don't fall back asleep immediately, I'm going to have shaky hands at my calligraphy group tomorrow morning. I'll have no energy. Do you see the problem? It wasn't just looking at the time, it was the calculation. The moment Mr. Wong started calculating how much sleep he had left and how terrible he would feel if he didn't sleep, his brain was forced into complex logical thinking. And that thinking triggered an instant spike in anxiety. With that anxiety came a flood of cortisol, the stress hormone. His heart started racing. His blood pressure started rising. His body had only been in a half-asleep standby mode. But by doing this anxious calculation, he literally forced his own brain to hit the power on button. And you know what happened next? The more he tried to sleep, the less he could. In the end, he just lay there staring at the ceiling until morning. So my medical advice for this situation is very simple and a little radical. I want you to go clock free in your bedroom starting tonight. Take every single time telling device out of your bedroom, the alarm clock, the wall clock, even any glowing electronic screen. Take them out, or at the very least turn them around or cover them up. Do not let them face your eyes, and your phone. Please just charge it in the living room or another room. Here's the psychology behind this. We are trying to break the vicious cycle of anxiety and waking. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you don't know the exact time, your brain can't do that awful countdown. You can kind of trick yourself. You can say, hey, maybe it's only 1 a.m. I've got plenty of time, with that fuzzy sense of time. Your psychological pressure drops dramatically, your body stays more relaxed, and when you're relaxed, you actually have a pretty good chance of picking up the broken thread of sleep and drifting back off. So remember, cutting off that urge to check the time. That is cutting off the very first circuit that leads to full-blown insomnia. All right, besides checking the time, there's a second mistake that many of my patients fall into when they wake up in the early morning. Honestly, this is one of the most common things I hear about in my office, and that is forcing yourself to sleep. I once saw a woman in her early 60s. She told me, the second I wake up at 3 a.m., I treat it like a major enemy. I squeeze my eyes shut, I clench my fists, and I give myself a mental command: go back to sleep. You must sleep. And of course, it never worked, friends. Let's be clear about a basic medical fact. Sleep is the natural result of your body relaxing. It is not a reward that you earn through sheer effort. The harder you try, the more excited your brain gets. It's like you're holding a debate club meeting inside your own head. This woman I just mentioned, she was a classic case. She would toss and turn in bed, first worrying about picking up her grandchild from school, then mentally calculating grocery prices, then even starting to diagnose herself with some kind of brain weakness or nerve problem. In medical psychology, this is called anticipatory anxiety. By lying there stiff and struggling for 1 or 2 hours, not only did her muscles get more tense, but her heart would start racing for no reason. An episode that started as a simple waking turned into a whole night of torture. So why does anxiety feel so heavy and overwhelming at 3 a.m.? There's a real physiological reason for this. When we're in a pitch dark environment in the middle of the night, the rational thinking part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, is relatively weak. Its function is lower, but the part of the brain that controls emotion, your amygdala, is actually overactive. This means that even small everyday worries get blown way out of proportion at this time of night. They become huge psychological burdens. A philosopher once said, "Darkness is often a magnifying glass for our inner fears." So here's my advice as your doctor. It might surprise you. If you notice that you've been lying in bed for about 20 minutes and you still have zero sleepiness, the best thing to do is not to stay in bed, it's to get up and leave your bedroom. This is actually a core technique in something called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. It's called stimulus control. The principle is very simple. We want to break the wrong neural connection in your brain that says bed equals anxiety and being awake. If you always lie in bed while you're wide awake, eventually your brain learns that the bed is a battlefield, not a resting place. The second your head hits the pillow, your body goes into prepare for battle mode. So leave the bedroom. Where do you go? What do you do? Go to your living room or a dimly lit corner of your house. Now, even though I don't recommend drinking a lot of water at this time, you can pour yourself a small cup of warm barley tea or warm plain water. Hold it in your hands. Feel the temperature, please. I beg you. No green tea, no coffee. Caffeine is the enemy of sleep. In your living room, do a few very, very gentle stretches. Slowly roll your shoulders. Just move them up and down. Gently turn your stiff neck from side to side. Even just 2 or 3 minutes of slow, deep breathing can help release the tension building up in your body. Here's another practical clinical tip I use all the time. Keep a worry notebook. Write down all those messy thoughts floating around in your head. I need to call the dermatologist. Remember to buy milk. Don't forget the dry cleaning. This action is called cognitive offloading in psychology. You're taking the trash out of your brain's memory. You're clearing the junk out of your mental RAM. What you'll find is that once you write it down, that hanging, dangling, I'm forgetting something feeling just settles. It lands. One more important thing during this time: only turn on a small dim night light. Do not turn on the big overhead light. Bright light instantly suppresses melatonin. It's like telling your body, hey, it's morning, time to go to work. Then once you've been sitting in the living room for a little while and you start to feel your eyelids get heavy, you yawn a few times. That's your signal to go back to bed, and this time do not bring any of that "I must fall asleep" pressure with you. Just imagine yourself as a dry leaf falling from a tree. Let yourself drift naturally onto the bed, all right? Besides forcing yourself to stay in bed, the third mistake that so many people make is chugging water right after waking up. Let me tell you about a retired teacher I saw. He was in good physical shape. His daily routine was solid, but he had one habit. When he woke up at night feeling thirsty, he would walk to the kitchen and chug a big glass of cold water. He thought he was doing something healthy for his body, rehydrating, taking care of himself. But he had no idea that this was the main reason he couldn't fall back asleep in the second half of the night. So why do I not recommend that midlife and older adults drink a lot of water in the middle of the night? We have to be honest and accept that our bodies change as we age. We call it a decline in kidney reserve. The kidney's ability to concentrate urine naturally goes down. When you were younger, you could drink a glass of water and not feel the urge to pee for maybe 2 or 3 hours. But for many of us over 50 or 60, your kidneys are like a goalkeeper who just can't quite hold on to the ball anymore. It's very hard for them to lock in that water. What you drink can turn into urine in less than 30 minutes. A large amount of clinical data confirms this. If someone over the age of 65 drinks more than 200 milliliters of water at one time in the early morning, that strong urge to pee will force them to get up again just when they were starting to feel sleepy again. That alone breaks the continuity of your sleep, and it gets worse. According to statistics, after getting up to use the bathroom, the average time it takes to fall back asleep is nearly 1 hour. But the people who, even when thirsty, only take one tiny sip to wet their mouth, their average time to fall back asleep is just 17 minutes. That gap right there, that is where your sleep quality disappears. From a physiological rhythm perspective, the hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. are actually a time when your kidneys need to rest and recover. Forcing them to work harder by drinking a lot of fluid at this time is not wise. So here's my very specific advice. If you wake up and your mouth feels dry, keep a small cup of warm water on your nightstand. Take one tiny sip, hold it in your mouth for a few seconds, just wet your throat. Do not chug. Starting tonight, try to just manage that 1 cup of water. You will find that a huge portion of what's disrupting your sleep simply disappears. Now, if you can avoid those 3 traps, waking up in the middle of the night doesn't have to be a disaster. In fact, it can actually be a special time to reset your body and mind. Since you're awake and you're not checking the time, not forcing sleep, and not chugging water, I want to give you a little combination of tools. These are medically proven to help activate your parasympathetic nervous system, that's your rest and digest system, and help you fall back asleep. Let me share a method I recommend to my patients all the time. I call it the warm and gentle reset. I had a patient, a woman who had suffered from early morning waking for over a decade. She got better using this very simple approach. It has 2 steps. Step 1, take that one tiny sip of warm water we just talked about. But the key is really focus on feeling the warmth as it goes down your throat and into your chest. Step 2, sit on your couch or a comfortable chair. Give your hands and feet a 5-minute mini massage, not a deep tissue massage, just gentle, slow, warm rubbing. Here's the science behind this. First, that small sip of warm water creates a very slight, gentle rise in your core body temperature, and when your temperature goes up just a little and then starts to fall back down. That falling phase is actually a strong go-to-sleep signal for your body. Second, why massage your hands and feet? Because your palms and the soles of your feet are packed with nerve endings. When you slowly rub your palms together, when you gently stretch each finger, when you use your thumb to softly press on the arch of your foot, that gentle touch sends a direct, safe, relaxed, no danger signal to your brain. It powerfully activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of rest and digestion. It helps your tight muscles let go. It calms down that racing, anxious heartbeat. You don't need any special massage skills. The whole point is slow and gentle. Try it tonight. Instead of suffering in bed, get up and give yourself those 5 minutes of warmth and gentle touch. And believe me, when your hands and your feet start to feel warm and relaxed, sleepiness will come back. It will flow quietly back into your body like a tide through all those nerve endings. Now, let's talk about building an emotional circuit breaker. This is something I often call combining a gratitude journal with a worry box. In my practice, so many patients tell me, "Doctor, I don't want to overthink, but at 3 a.m. once I wake up, my brain is like a slideshow I can't control. Little things from during the day turn into endless anxiety movies." Please believe me, you are not the only person who feels this way. Let's first understand the medical principle behind this. According to neuroscience research from Harvard Medical School, in the early morning hours, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional inhibition, your prefrontal cortex, is basically asleep. It's in a low functioning resting state. But the part responsible for fear and anxiety, your amygdala, is overactive. So imagine this. The rational manager in your brain is asleep. The only one left on duty is a security guard who screams fire at every little noise. That's why small problems that wouldn't bother you during the day get physiologically magnified into huge disasters at 3 a.m. I once treated an 83-year-old patient, very classic case. Every time he woke up in the early morning, he would fall into what we call catastrophizing. Head start by worrying about his adult children who lived far away. Maybe they're not eating well. Then that would turn into maybe their jobs aren't going well. And then that would spiral into, "I'm just a burden now. My body is failing. I'm useless." This mental rumination actually led to physical symptoms, chest tightness, heart palpitations. But here's the thing, I didn't give him sleeping pills. Instead, I suggested he try these 2 simple, almost childlike tools, and his sleep anxiety improved significantly. So how do you do this? It's actually a very specific, almost ritual like psychological intervention. First, I want you to put three things on your nightstand: a small notebook just for this purpose, a pen, a small box with a lid that makes you happy when you look at it. Now, when you wake up at 3 a.m. and feel your thoughts starting to race, turn on your small dim nightlight. Open the notebook. Step one, cognitive reframing. Write down three small things from yesterday that you're grateful for, and please, they don't have to be big. In fact, the smaller and more specific, the better. For example, my grandkid called and I heard them laugh. The fish I had for dinner was perfectly cooked. I stood in the sun on my balcony for 10 minutes this afternoon. Step two, externalize the worry. This is crucial. Take whatever worry is circling in your head right now, whether it's your blood pressure, the weather tomorrow, or a family concern, write it down on a small piece of paper, then fold that paper up, place it deliberately into that little box, and close the lid tightly. This action is not just storage in psychology, it sends a very clear command to your brain. I have archived these concerns. They are inside the box now. I will deal with them after the sun comes up. But right now is my rest time. The 83-year-old patient I mentioned, he told me something beautiful. He said, "At first, I thought this was just a trick for kids, but after a few days, I realized when I close that lid, the background noise in my brain actually stops. The tension lets go, and pretty soon, I'm back asleep." You might ask, how can just writing things down help me fall asleep? There's solid neurobiology behind this. When you start writing a gratitude journal, you are forcing your brain to recall positive, specific, detailed memories. This process actively activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational, positive, calming part of your brain. And when your prefrontal cortex wakes up and gets active, it releases dopamine and serotonin. Those natural brain chemicals literally suppress the overactive amygdala and calm down your anxiety. And that worry box ritual, in psychotherapy, we call that anxiety scheduling or worry postponement. It's not about avoiding problems. It's about giving your anxiety a boundary. It tells your brain the worry has been moved from my head into this box. A clinical study from the University of California looked at 200 older adults. The data showed that people who kept a daily gratitude journal for just 3 weeks had their objective sleep quality scores improve by an average of 41%. And their morning energy levels were significantly better. So starting tonight, keep those two tools by your bed. Use a little bit of grateful light to clear away the 3 a.m. fog. Now let me introduce a third method. This is used widely in clinical psychotherapy. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory grounding technique. This method is especially good for people who are going through a sudden life change or loss that's causing severe insomnia. I remember a patient, Zhang. She was 76 years old. Not long after her husband passed away, she started waking up at 3 a.m. every single night, and she wouldn't just wake up. She would feel an overwhelming wave of loneliness and panic about the future. She described it as a heavy rock sitting on her chest, making it hard to breathe. She would just lie there with her eyes open until dawn. In a situation like that, simple comforting words don't help. Her body had learned a stress response. So I taught her this sensory reset. The core idea is to gently pull your racing, future-oriented, anxious thoughts back to the present moment, back to your physical body. You don't even need to get out of bed to do this. When you wake up in the middle of the night feeling panicky, just stay comfortable lying down. Then go through your 5 senses in order. First, sight. Find 5 things you can see. Don't judge them, just find them. The faint outline of light at the edge of your curtain, the reflection on your closet door handle, the shadow in the corner of the ceiling, the line of your door frame, the pattern on your own blanket. Second, touch. Find 4 things you can feel. Really pay attention. The softness of your pillow against your cheek, the weight of your blanket on your body, the smoothness of your bedsheet under your feet, the feeling of the room temperature moving across your skin. Third, hearing. Find 3 things you can hear. You might have to listen very carefully. The sound of an occasional car passing by outside, the steady ticking of your wall clock, the calm, quiet sound of your own breathing. Fourth, smell. Find 2 things you can smell, maybe the faint scent of laundry detergent on your pillowcase, or just the particular neutral air smell of your bedroom. Fifth, taste. Find 1 thing you can taste, the leftover hint of mint from your toothpaste, or a faint sweetness from the water you drank earlier. Mrs. Jang later told me that this method felt like a forced reboot for her brain. Usually by the time she got to step 3 or step 4, that panicky heart-racing feeling was simply gone. Why does this work? Because your brain is actually a single thread processor. When you focus all your attention on sensing your present moment body and your environment, you literally cut the power to the neural circuits that produce anxiety and ruminating thoughts. In simple terms, we just successfully switched your brain from thinking mode to sensing mode. We often say that your mindset shapes your reality, and that is especially true with sleep. Which brings me to our final, most important idea: accept the change and reshape how you think about waking up at 3 a.m. After seeing hundreds of older patients, I've noticed a pattern: as we age, melatonin naturally drops. The internal clock shifts forward. This is a completely normal physiological change. It is as natural as your hair turning gray or your skin getting a few more wrinkles. This is not your fault, and it is not a serious disease. So instead of feeling frustrated and upset about waking up, instead of getting second level anxiety about the fact that you're not sleeping, let's try a different perspective. What if you saw this unexpected quiet time as a gift of solitude just for you? Hemingway and Picasso and many other great creators treasured the early morning quiet. They said it was the purest thinking time of the whole day, a time when your mind is truly your own, with no little things bothering you. And here's something even more powerful. Recent research from Harvard Medical School points to a surprising idea. When it comes to sleep, quality matters far more than quantity. The research suggests that instead of obsessing over whether you got 8 hours, spending just a few minutes each day on meditation or positive mental practices may be even more important for your overall immunity and well-being. So if you wake up at 3 a.m. tonight, please don't just lie there sighing and rolling around. Try one of the 3 methods I shared with you, whether it's the gentle breathing and massage, the gratitude journal and worry box, or the 50-4-3-2-1 sensory reset. Pick the one that feels easiest to you. You don't have to do all 3. The key is consistency, and maybe after a few weeks, you will notice something amazing. You're no longer afraid of waking up. You might even start to look forward to this quiet time of inner conversation. Remember, every moment of life has its meaning, even 3 a.m. All right, friends, I hope that starting tonight, you can use these little medical tools to turn your anxious nighttime hours into a refueling station for your body and soul. If this information was helpful to you, please do me a favor. Share it with a friend or family member who's also struggling with early morning waking. Your one share might be the start of their first good night's sleep in a long time. Thank you so much for listening. Take good care of yourself, and I truly wish you a calm, restful, and healing night of sleep tonight. Disclaimer: this is for educational purposes only. Always consult your own doctor before making changes. If you're dealing with any health concerns, please schedule a visit with your primary care doctor. I'm here to help you understand the science, not replace professional medical advice.